It's me, Nimso. Welcome back to another VR video. Today we are back in Project TX once more. Now this is another little test scene that I've been working on. This was one of my other prototype scenes. It's quite nice. It's got a pool behind you, which is actually quite important for this video. Just down here. And we've got some other test objects. You can see those trees in the background are floating. I don't know if you can see them, but you should be able to see them. But yeah, so there we go. We've got a bunch of test stuff. We've got the character waddling about there in the background. He's just going to run past here as well very soon. Today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about some wordage. That's the way to go with the names nowadays. The vocabulary being used in VR. Now, in particular, I wanted to talk a little bit about the concept of physics-based. Ooh, what a name that is. So yeah, very commonly in VR games nowadays, physics-based has become the kind of the norm, at the very least. And yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So when it comes to physics-based, more often than not, a developer will use that term to describe anything that is effectively being using the physics engine, right? So this is the physics simulation engine. Frankly, it means kinematic physics. An object drops and waddles about, right? And that's the physics engine. It's doing the simulation of collision. You move back a little bit. It's doing the simulation of collision, movement, and then, you know, the impact, the reaction to collision causing the movement, right? And I wanted to talk about how that just doesn't make sense to me to use that terminology specifically for anything using the simulation engine. For me, it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's a little bit more than that. For me, it's the term physics and then the term based. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean using the physics simulation engine. Take this sword, right? In the past, I've shown how I've got some values on each of these materials, all of the materials that you see around you, particularly this set of materials here. And those values, such as density, affect the ability for the sword to stab into them, right? So for example here, we've got metal here, and I just can't stab into it so easily, right? What I would consider when it comes to physics-based, I would say that these values are something that are based on physics. Now, they're not necessarily using the physics engine, right? They're not actually simulating anything using the physics engine. It's just a bunch of maths that I'm doing, you know, particularly based on a bunch of values that I added to the system. They're not even part of the system. Physics objects and physics materials, like the ones being applied here, in the physics engine only affect friction and bounce, right? So the ability for the sword to bounce off the floor, that's the stuff that comes from the physics material, and the friction of the object as it slides along the ground. That's it. Nothing else comes from the physics engine's default setup. I've added these additional values and they're being used. I would consider that to be physics-based. Now, another term that keeps getting used in this is me. I'm going to throw a little bit of shade, but I'm not going to mention who or what or anything like that, right? One term that I'm kind of unkeen on using, but I kind of really do often use it, is the term next gen. Now, in one case, the term next gen was being used to effectively describe taking a bunch of mechanics from other games that exist, already released, and just amalgamating those mechanics into a single product, and then calling that product next gen. I think that's a bit absurd. What I would say for the term next gen, right? I would say it's something that addresses at least some concerns in VR as a whole, right? So problem areas. One of those problem areas being, you know, wibbly wobbly physics, which is what I'm trying to address with my next gen systems. And speaking of that, I wanted to talk a little bit more about swords. Because one of the other things about physics-based is that I like to actually connect a number of my systems together. So they don't just end up sitting as independent systems. You stab one thing here and well done, you've got a stab system, hoorah. But that has to interact with other things. Now you've already seen a little bit of this with the very fact that there are actual values for each material that affect the way that the stab happens. I've actually made massive improvements to that, and this connects to something else, which connects to something else, which I mentioned just now. How does sword stabbing connect to water? I'm gonna show you. Right, so let's get over to my camera here. Yeah, there you are. And here's the sword that I just showed you. Now, the values that I've actually rewritten the whole stab system, by the way. The values that you'd seen earlier was the density of a material. This is wood. This is the same wood. This is the same wood. This, and this. They're all the same material, and they're all the same physics material. But that doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but it also doesn't matter for what I'm about to show you. The difference between them is very, very clear now. This is thin, this is slightly thicker, slightly thicker, slightly thicker, slightly thicker, slightly thicker, slightly thicker, and very thick. Right? This actually... You! Don't push me about you. Right, this actually impacts the sword stab now. Right, let's look at it. Here we have... this is going to get a little bit... Oh, you're not even looking from... You're looking from here. This is going to be a little bit absurd and silly. Right? So here we have... In fact... Let's shove you over there. Right? So here we have your regular, easy, I was about to swear, easy stab. You just pop it in there, and you can just slide with one arm, I can just slide right in all the way. Now the reason this is possible is that despite the fact that we're actually pushing through wood, we're barely pushing through much wood at all, right? So we're pushing through this tiny little thin portion of wood here. As I move along to the next wood plank, suddenly, and you can see here, if I show you the controllers, you can see here that I'm walking forward right now. I'm not able to just immediately just slide it in like I was with that one, right? Now I actually have to put some push, a little bit push here, right? And I can't get it all the way, but that's because of the thickness of the wood. The point I'm making is that the thickness of the wood impacts how much I can actually slide the sword in. But it actually stops at the edge of the thickness. So that means when I push this blade in, provided it hasn't come out the other end, it will continue to increase the force as I push in. Once it does come out the other end, it stops increasing the amount of force because we're no longer pushing that amount of wood, we're no longer increasing the amount of wood being pushed out by the blade. Hence, here, just using that one hand has now suddenly become a little bit difficult, but we are still able to get right to the bottom. But that's where it ends, right? Because now, once I start pushing this one, we're just about able to push. It's getting more difficult. You can clearly see I'm now having to push quite a bit, but it is getting a little bit more difficult. Don't worry, it'll get a little bit more than a little bit difficult in a moment. Move this metal out of the way, and suddenly we're now at a point where using one hand is just unrealistic. It is possible, but it's a little bit difficult. Now we're going to use two hands. I can push it in a little bit. Yeah. And you can see by the controllers what I'm actually doing in practice in the real world. If I switch the controllers off, go through. There we go. And even pulling out, I actually need to put effort in, right? The thickness of the wood matters. Now we're actually pushing through almost all of the blade. It takes up to here, where the blade is no longer pushing into wood and it'll actually come out. So only up to this point, the force will increase. Okay, I can't get the blade out, right? You can see here, oh, wrong button. You can see here, there we go, just move there. that there's no blade here, right? It hasn't actually come out of the end. I can push it as much as I want to. It hasn't come out of the other end. But there's a beauty to this. Bum, 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 bum. We have tools. Okay. Right. We have a solution to this problem, which is that we can increase the amount of force going in. This is truly physics-based, but it's also relying heavily on the physics engine to do a lot of the calculations to make sure it works consistently with all the other functions. And now you can see it's actually popped out. It's popped out the other end. Beautiful. So let's have a look at this from the other side here. Beautiful. It's worked, right? It's legitimately worked. Now, of course, this is where things get a bit difficult because now pulling it out is the same problem. The beauty of this, of course, is in the sound as well, right? You'll have noticed you can hear it. Oh, it's beautiful. That sound effect, I just recorded one of my kitchen knives scraping on a chopping board. It's beautiful, right? I've got a lot of work to do when it comes to sounds. But yeah, once we get to this point here, because now the sword doesn't come out the other end. It doesn't matter how far you look. You have a look here. Doesn't matter how far you go, you're not coming out the other end because the sword is not long enough, right? So now I can push it in as much as I want. I can use the sledgehammer. And we're not going any further because now we've reached the limit, right? We've reached the limit of what is possible with this character's strength. I could change to another character, but I've got a little bit more to show, a lot more to show. Right, so that's blades, right? Except it's not blades. This has only shown what it looks like with a single type of blade in a single type of material. There we go. What happens though if I add some more detail and some more properties that impact some more variables to this little calculation? This sword is yay thin, right? It's not a very thick, wide end. It's relatively thin, it's beautiful, and it's nice. I've got a scaled version of this. Whoop. We've got slightly thicker, and then we've got absolutely absurd, right? And this actually impacts the actual force required to push these blades in. Except, of course, it only impacts as you go deeper. Remember, the force increases as we're pushing into more wood. But because there's only this much thickness of wood, the force doesn't increase as we go along. It just stays constant. But it does increase depending on the width of the blade. Here we go. And suddenly, this single hand is no longer able to just control it like it was. Remember, this one, I can just smoothly and easily slide it in, right? This one, not so easily. There we go. Now I actually have to push it like I was pushing the other blade, into the other thicker woods, right? Suddenly, the thickness of the blade has changed the impact and the force required to push it in. But we can still get it in. There we go. This one, on the other hand, it would be useful if I could get it out of here first. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I went and stabbed it into there, and it's so thick. Oh. Oh my god. This really does show off the system, doesn't it? So here we go. Boop. Right? So now, Now I'm going to try and push this blade in, and because it's so thick, suddenly the amount of wood that we're pushing out is almost the same as pushing into one of those thicker pieces there. There we go. This is as far as I go with one hand smoothly. I can push it a little bit more. You can remember with this one, right? Oh, I don't want to tap on the other sword. I could go a little bit more with that one hand, right? But with this one, no chance, not going any further. We have reached the limit, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Come on! I'm just about able to get it in, and this is extremely thin wood. This is impacted by the thickness of the blade, except it gets even cooler than that. If we pop over to here, yeah, I'm actually tired. A little bit of pushing blades into walls here. Right, so here we go. Have a look at this blade. Suddenly, something has changed. This is no longer a constant shape change. It's not linear. It suddenly gets thicker here at the lower end, right? So how does that impact the way that it affects inside a wall? And it does exactly what you'd expect it to do, which is, as it goes in, we get the consistent slight increase in shape, and then once we reach here, suddenly it's a lot harder to get in, right? And that's because the shape has increased. So there we go. Now it suddenly increases here. It's all of that length, it's already gone in, no problem. This section here, it actually affects by the shape of the blade. It's not just the thickness, it's not just a wideness value, it's an actual shape value. It affects, on the basis of the shape of the blade, how much force you have to put in. Here, there we go. We can get it just past that point here. This is quite a beautiful blade, actually. But there's more. You may have noticed that stabbing is not the only thing a sword can do. Oh wow, that's it. I'm not getting anything out of this. Where's my original sword? You know what? Yeah, move along there. Thank you. That's not the one. Ah, there you are. My original sword. So actually, what I did, I separated blades into a number of different things. Oh, before I mention that, there's one more thing about stabbing. Not only are those values affecting the object. No. There is one more. There is one more value that impacts the object. You can imagine here, pushing into a watermelon. Nice and easy, right? Oh, in fact, we don't even need to use watermelons for this. We don't need to use watermelons for this. We can use them things over there. Now, here's the thing. Wood, if we pushed into that solid wood down there, as you could see, as the increase in thickness happens, the increase in force is required on these thin blades. I was unable to push into quite a large thickness of wood. The thing is, with a barrel, despite this being a solid volumetric object in terms of the physics engine, this barrel, in practice, is of course only this much. You know what? Let me get rid of the controllers there. Is of course only this thickness in its actual width thickness, right? The actual planks of wood that make up the barrel are only this thick. So when I stab the barrel, it's not going to have to go through wood that is all the way thick as the barrel. It's only going to need this thickness. So I actually added that value to this as well, meaning I can stab this barrel and I can simply go through, right? Regardless of how wide the barrel is, I just go through as if it's only as thick as this. That's part of the materials as well. It is a truly beautiful system that accounts for a lot more a lot more than you might think. But that barrel is actually something with a little bit more functionality. Yeah, everything just keeps on having more functionality. Right, okay, just a little bit of dodgy fighting. But yeah, so I was going to show that that thickness thing with the watermelon thing here. There's no point of that, right? Okie dokie. Blades. They don't just stab. Blades actually have... how do I show this? 2 features and three functions, right? 2 features, 3 functions. The 2 features are the point on the end of the blade and the side of the blade, the sharp end, right? There's a pointy and then there's a slide. And that's actually 3 different functions. Why is it 3 different functions? Well, stab, chop, yeah, and cut. Did you hear that? Oh. Ooh. Oh, it's beautiful. It just makes it feel so nice when you can hear it. Oh. And then you just stab it. And you can chop. And of course, these functions actually work together. There's only 2 features that are running all of these systems, but the functions themselves blend together a little bit. So for example, you've got a chop. That's a chop. It's stuck in. Right? I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. I promise. I'm not touching it. But it's still able to cut, because a cut is really just part of a chop system. It's the same blade touching the same surface and just pushing in a little bit. So it's able to cut. And then it comes out of the chop once you've cut through. Beautiful. Mixing all of these mechanics is what makes swords feel correct when you're testing them against an actual character. And of course, each of the materials are impacted. You've got this here, watermelon, which of course would impact depending on how you cut it or chop into it. You can chop into things, you can slide them off. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, right? So for example, if we were fighting like this, you want to chop in and then slide out, right? So you chop in and then slide out. Chop in, slide out. Otherwise, simply cutting is also part of it, or a stab. And of course, this is solid wood. I can't just go right through him, right? Beautiful. It's going to expand on the mechanics of things, and I cannot wait to show you the upgrades I have added to the actual combat system. Right now, we're not showing you in this video. Boom! There's so much more. Wait for it. Oh, what a nice throw. Right? Here. Bum, bum, bum. Here is something that I've been working on for a while, right? This is a barrel. In fact, you might want to switch over to my camera mode. You see here, we've got the weighing scale. Sword, you're going to be needed soon. The weighing scale, 34.4 kilograms. This barrel is not a 34.4 kilogram barrel. This barrel is 5 kilograms. There's something inside the barrel which is liquid, right? When you shake it about, the liquid moves around. You can't hear it, you can't see it, but you can see the impact of it when I shake it around. Do you see that? You see how it wobbles a bit back and forth? That's because there's a physical simulation going on inside there. And again, it's not using the physics engine directly. Look at this. It wobbles back and forth. Come with me. Right? It's a little bit bouncy. It's a little bit wobbly. It wobbles back and forth. That's because there's a liquid sim inside it. If I grab it here, it leans that way, it drops that way. If I grab it here, the liquid falls over to this side and actually impacts the overall center of mass of the object. Now, that matters because there's something else going on. these simulations are not just a matter of what's inside the barrel, but how it interacts with the world outside the barrel. So here, if we grab ourselves, not that. If we grab ourselves a gun, yep, whoop, beautiful, and we do this, watch this, and now we can see liquid falling out of the barrel, and you can see the mass is changing, and the liquid stops here. That's because the level of the liquid is also being simulated. So you can see here, 28 kilograms. No liquid is coming out. There was a little bit of liquid coming out there, but that's because there's a simulation going on that determines what's the level of the liquid as well. It was a 5 kilogram barrel, remember? Right? So now we grab this barrel and watch carefully. Watch carefully. As I pour it, I can pour it out of the hole, or I can pour it out of all of the holes. Oh, it's beautiful, right? Or I can swish it around and it actually falls out of the other holes, right? Let me move the camera. Right? Watch what happens. Here we go. I can swish it around and it's simply falling out of the barrel as I swish it. Right? There we go. It's level based, right? It's based on the level of the water. So as we lift it up here, we can put it on here and we're just going to pour it all out. And then we switch to my camera mode. You can see here 18 kilograms is remaining. Let's pop a hole right down the bottom. There we go. And you can see how it's all liquid falling out. And only the lower holes are actually shooting liquid out. That's because those are the only ones low enough to actually be impacted by water, right? But there's something more. You can see now it's actually a lighter barrel. Let's pour it all out of these holes. It's nice and light. And of course, all of that liquid sim has now gone. It's now smooth. It just rolls. It rolls beautifully, nice and easy, nice and light. No more shaking, no more wobbling, because the liquid sim has now been accounted for. And of course, this is going to do something a little bit more. Get out of here. This button here switches off all the holes, it removes all the holes, and boom. Now we've got a barrel which is unimpacted by any liquid. It's 5 kilograms, like I mentioned, right? But there's more. This barrel, whee! I probably shouldn't have jumped in without grabbing my physics gun. This barrel, of course, floats. Right, come here. I've been working on the physics on the buoyancy system, and yeah, it's this is the new buoyancy system now. But yeah, I haven't done the friction yet. As you can see, the barrel floats, right? It floats on water. It stays sideways because there's no liquid, there's no nothing tripping it over. If I simply drop it down, right? Bump. If I simply drop it down, it'll fall sideways and it'll lean down like that. Let's take this with us. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit. Can I get it over? No, I can't. It's just so silly. Oh, actually, we don't really need to go down there, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I need that physics gun. Oh, I don't know why I didn't grab the physics gun. Hey, yeah, up we go. Hey, whoa, hey, right. Okie dokie. What I wanted from up here is 1, my sword, and 2, my physics gun. Beautiful. Right, so here we go. We've got a barrel that we can pop holes in, and of course, we can pop those holes in with the sword as well. But the barrel has no liquid, so how am I going to show you this? Oh, that's the beauty of it. You see, once it has a few holes in there, the barrel will not only float, but it will also get these bubbles as it starts filling up with liquid once it's under the water, right? And this is why the physics gun is so useful. See, now the barrel is starting to fill up with liquid. Oh no! Come on! Come on! Oh no! Oh no! I need to show this before it goes. Come! And you can see here that the barrel hasn't filled up much. These holes are unaffected, right? There's only liquid coming out the bottom here. Where's the camera? What? Hello? Oh, are you in the wall? Oh, of course you're in the bloody wall. Here we go. Right, so there's only liquid coming out the bottom. Let's get the physics gun, and we can see here that if we tip it over, we just get liquid falling everywhere, and I can control where that liquid is by swinging the barrel around. And you can see here how the liquid kind of gets thrown back and forth. Oh, it's beautiful. But if I throw it into the water, you can see here that those holes are now filling up with liquid, right? And then of course they pour out if I lift the barrel out of the water, right? Let's get it to fill up with water, and we'll notice something else about it. So here we go. This is the barrel just floating naturally on the water, right? But what happens when it starts filling heavily with water? You can see it's actually changing its buoyancy, right? So suddenly we've now got a buoyancy system that is being impacted by the fact that not only is it increasing its weight, but it's actually changing the way in which it would actually float. And eventually it's no longer floating, right? It's no longer floating. Oh, it's bloody beautiful. So you were wondering, the question was earlier, how does a sword connect to physics objects and water? Like so. Pop! Oh, I flippin' love this. Oh, I spent so long on this system as well. There we go. So, this is what I call a set of next-gen systems. Yes, there's a bit of distance between the holes. There's a little bit of logic there. But, yeah. This is what you want from your next-gen systems. You want a set of systems that are impacting other systems, a consistent world. This will change the way you interact with these objects. Imagine building a boat, a raft, out of these barrels. Shooting a hole in the barrel will allow water to flow out of that barrel or into it, and it'll stop floating. It will impact the way you interact with the world. And if I was floating on the barrel, right, I can hold it and float up here. I can float all over the place. But as it fills up with water, it starts to sink, right? And suddenly, I'm no longer floating. Oh no, I'm drowning, right? I'm sinking. That's the problem. I can't even lift it up. Oh, yeah. Whew. Okie dokie. Anyways, I think that's enough mechanics today. If you're wondering what next gen physics looks like, this is gonna be part of it, right? It's incredible having this set of systems where things just interact differently. Woo! Look at that. That's a heavy barrel right there. You just leave it like this. You grab the sword, and then you pop a hole right down the center. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Anyways, I think that's enough. Oh, I'm a little tired today. Oh, I don't want to drop the camera in the water. Yeah, I'm a little tired. I've got things to do. Next video, I'll be showing you the NPCs. Hopefully you understand my position on the concept of physics-based, and also stop killing games. If you haven't looked at that initiative, please do have a look at that. It's something that I needed to mention as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. There will be much more to show later on involving the NPCs. I have improved the combat system. You're going to love it. And that's the end of this video. Man, oh my god. That's a tiring one. Oh, there was one more thing to show. Very quickly. Here we've got a sword. Here we've got a sword. Yeah. And here we've got some balloons. Whoop. Balloon, sword. Sharp end. Doesn't do anything. It's fine. It can touch. Unless you pop a hole into it. Pop. pop, and of course, pop, or if I cut, pop. Beautiful. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.